Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of my tutorial on how to make this friction folding knife. If you haven't seen part 1, you kind of need it, and I basically showed you how to get up to this stage, so the link will be in the description down below. If you have, this is part 2, and we're going to start just where we left off, and we've just finished heat treating the knife and it's ready for tempering. So now the knife is really brittle but really hard, and it needs to be tempered. And for that I'm going to be using a toaster oven. From the supplier where I bought my 01 tool steel from, it shows all of the different hardening temperatures and tempering temperatures which you're going to need. And I want to make my knife around 60 to 62 Rockwell hardness, so I'm going to be tempering it in the oven for 180 degrees for 2.5 hours. I'm going to be leaving it in for around 2.5 hours as well, because you're meant to leave it in for 1 hour for every inch of thickness in the metal. Take in mind that these are only for 01 tool steel and won't work for other steels, and you're going to have to look it up if you have another steel. But I want to go for a slightly higher Rockwell hardness since I'm going to be using this knife for whittling, and nothing that's going to take much impact. The knife is then put in the oven, and you've just got to wait for it to temper for about 2.5 hours. After tempering, the blade has a yellowish tint to it, and it's the exact right hardness for the folding knife which I want to make. Now, using various grits of wet and dry paper ranging all the way from 280 grit to 600 grit, I'm going to polish up the knife blade so that it's nice and smooth, get rid of all of the scale and slag that's left on the surface from heat treatment. This is what the knife looks like once it's reached 600 grit, and it's pretty shiny at the moment, and you can see it's almost reflecting my fingers but not very well. Using my bench grinder with a buffing wheel attached on, I'm going to start buffing the knife up to a mirror polish. This step is optional, and if you do want to do it and you don't have a buffing wheel, you can buy these ones off eBay for about £2 each, and they go inside the chuck of a drill and they'll work just fine. It's just easier on a bench grinder since it goes a little bit faster, or you could just do it with a cloth and some Brasso or buffing compound like that, but it would take a lot longer. So this is what the knife looks like after buffing, and as you can see it's completely mirror finish. And another great advantage that the buffing wheel has left is it was pretty much a blade just from the general polishing and sharpening that I'd done earlier, but I hadn't finished sharpening it. But the buffing wheel has now completely buffed it flat and smooth, and it's now super sharp. It's probably one of the sharpest knives that I've ever made yet. I mean, it just cuts with such little effort because it's such a smooth edge. So now the blade's all done and it's super shiny and nice. It's now time to move on to the handle. I'm just going to pin both pieces together and start to shape it. First, the shaping is done just using regular metal files since it shapes away the micarta quite easily, and I don't want to damage my wood rasps on the aluminium. Then I move on to sanding just using the wet and dry paper, and again I move all the way up to 600 grit, and the micarta is very easy to polish up. This is what both of the pieces look like after sanding. They're both pretty much symmetrical, although they've got slightly different patterns. So after that, the handle looks pretty cool, but now I need to prepare the holes for when I start to peen out the pins. And what you need to do is you need to widen them at the top, so as the pin spreads, it locks both of the handle pieces together. To do that, I'm going to be using this triangular drill bit inside a Dremel, and I'm just going to widen out the top of the holes very slightly. So once that's done, the inside of these holes are slightly sloped as they come outwards, so that they can accept the pin as it starts to widen up when you start to peen it over. So now what I need to do is start to assemble the knife, and it's pretty simple since this is a friction folder and it's got no sort of springed parts. You can just take all of the different pieces and put the pins through. So this is what the knife looks like once it's assembled. As you can see, it locks all the way out here, then it can't go any further. Then you can close it and it closes like that. So I'm quite happy with that now. All I need to now do is start to cut off the pins. So I'm going to start with the little pins first, since these are much easier to do and I can just cut them with pliers. What I want to do is cut off the head on one side first. Once I've cut off the head, I need to get the other pin out of the way, and then you want to cut it so that it's just got a little bit of it protruding out, maybe just a couple of millimeters on each side. There we go. Now that pin's been cut, as you can see, it just sticks out on both sides just a little bit. Now I'm going to take the solid surface of an anvil. You can also, if you don't have one, just use a hard rock, or the back surface of a vise, which is also used as an anvil. And I'm also going to take quite a small ball peen hammer and very gently start to peen over the end just by tapping it. Once I've done a little bit on one side, I'm going to turn it over and do the same on the other side. Once the pin has been peened down, you can then sand it all the way so that it's flush with the rest of the handle material. Now it's time to do the same with the other two pins. On the pivot pin, as we tighten it, we want to tighten it so that this has some resistance, some sort of friction. That's why it's called a friction folder. So we don't want to peen it all the way so that it's impossible to move this, but it's quite a fine balance, and you want to peen it just so that it's got enough friction so that it doesn't just swing about like this. because at the moment this is quite loose and it can just swing open. So this is what it looks like once all of the different pins have been peened. As you can see, I've also done the back ones here, and on the pivot pin and the stop pin I've got enough friction so the knife doesn't just close easily. It's got like a bit of resistance, but not so much that it's really difficult to open and close like this, and that's the type of friction that you want. If you find that you've over hammered it, you can just get a chisel or something and wedge it in there and try and open it up a little bit, and you'll find that that will open it up the fraction of a millimeter that it needs to get less friction. And if you find that it's then getting too loose, you just do a couple of very light hammer strokes with a ball peen hammer on the pivot pin, and then that closes it up and tightens it again. Now what I need to do is sand down and polish the pins and then re-oil the handle. This is what the knife looks like after I've done the final sanding, and as you can see, even the handle is really shiny and smooth now. There's not a single scratch mark all the way in it, and I actually sanded it up to 2000 grit, which is actually higher than I sanded up the blade to. Looking back at the blade, I should have probably done a little bit more sanding, possibly used this wet and dry paper that only just arrived back on the blade. I might do that later on, but it still looks quite nice even with the buff. So now it's time to test out how sharp the knife is, just with the standard paper test, and we'll see if it passes. As you can see, it easily passes the paper test. It just sails straight through the paper. I think I need to find a new test to see how sharp the knife is, simply because the paper test, the knife doesn't have to be that sharp to pass it, it just doesn't have to be really blunt. And obviously if it's that sharp, it's going to easily be able to cut into an oak wood dowel like this very easily. Just slices massive pieces off it. So of course, since this is my very first folding knife, I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. Improvements that I'm going to make to the next one is, I think I might improve the blade shape and the design a little bit. I think the blade is a little bit small for the handle and it's a little bit stubby, and I think it looks a bit strange at the moment. And also the handle's a little bit long, but it's also a little bit short for my hand, so I'm going to improve the design a little bit. I'd really like to be able to make a knife with a locking mechanism instead of just a friction folder, but I've made one of them in the past from a kit, and the locking mechanism looks quite complicated to make, but I'll have a look into it and see whether I can do it. In the meantime, if anyone's got any good tutorials to point out, they would be really useful. Also, another thing which I quite want to do is to make a multi-bladed folding knife, one with more than one blade. Maybe make some sort of knife like this, which is one that I've got, and it's got more than one blade. As you can see, it's got all 3 different blades, and that would be pretty cool as well. 2 other improvements that I think I would make in the future is on eBay for £2. I've just found some friction folder bearings which I could use, and these are actually bearings made for friction folders, which would be better than just the nail peened over that I was using in the past. Also, instead of just using a nail for the actual pins of the knife handle, I've found some brass rods that will work much better and will be much more circular. Apart from that, that's the only really improvements that I can think of making. If you have any other ideas on how I can improve this knife, please post them in the comment section down below, and I'm sure to make another one in the future, so I'll try and add your improvements in. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit the like button down below and subscribe, and good luck making your own knife if you do.